9:40 by 9:30, I need to have that information. Microsoft and Apple. I need to get for 2007 what happened in 2007. I start teaching finance. From 2007 to present, can I have a period that would give me what is happening with the stock price of Microsoft and Apple? I need to pick up one of the stock prices. I ask which one I want to have. Kelsey says the price that is at the end. Can I be able to do it? If you have done your homework, you know what to do. You click, you want financial data, you go on, you pick up the data period that you want. You want the maximum data. That says from 86. I don't want from 86. My graph is from 2000. From 2007. And I want from the beginning of the year of 2007 to now to have the data. It takes few fractions of a minute to do it. It takes one part to click and the other part to apply and a third part to download the data. Before I download the data, I go on and I see what's the last day of data I have? November 22nd. What is this? Last Friday. I go on and see what is the first day of data I have. Is it the same? I click it and I get the data. I have here Microsoft. I take Microsoft and I put it on the side. I go for Apple. I want to get the data for the same period. I want from 2007, 1st of January to the present. Done, apply, download, I get the Apple. I put it down here. I take the Apple and I go on and I see what is happening. I see from the 3rd of January. Why the 3rd of January? Because in 2007, the 1st of January was during the weekend. It goes on and has all the data up to this coming Friday. This is exactly what I want. If this is what I want, I'm going to make a new file. In that new file, I will go on and take the periods. I'll copy them. And I will paste them. And then I will go to say what is the price. I take the closing price. I copy it. I go to another part and I paste it. This particular is from Apple. I say this is the Apple price. I don't need the Apple anymore, except if I want to check it. I start from 1197. I have 1197. I'm done with Apple. I don't want to save anything. I go to Microsoft. From January 3rd to November 22nd. I have the same period. I'll take the Microsoft. I'll copy it. I'll paste it. This is a Microsoft MSFT. MSFT. That's a Microsoft. I take the graphs, the data, and what do? I format them. I have them like this. What do I have in the computer, in the newspaper today? I have them together. Why do I have them together? Any reason that I have them together?
To compare them.
I can use it as an index. Or I can have something different than the book. I can have the average of these two. Would I have the same graph or a different graph? No, I'm going to have the same graph, different scale. If I take this, and I'll take the average of two. I'll divide them by 2. I need to put them in parentheses. So first I add, and then I divide. If I don't put it in a parenthesis, first I divide the second, and then I add the first. I don't get the same thing. I take the average price, and I put it all together for all the periods. And I'm looking at my graph. What time is it? Before 9:30. What do I need to do? I need to be able to graph all that information. I need to graph all that information. I take the date out. I take both parts, and I loop them all together. And I look at the time. Am I in my time limit that I allow myself to work? This is the graph that I have. What do I have? I have a picky professor. My picky professor does not want graphs without color. What else my picky professor wants? Whenever pennies and dimes are not relevant, he doesn't want to see decimal points. I eliminate the decimal points. And I see the graph. I take the graph and I make it large, so I can see what is happening. And if I see the graph, I look at my newspaper. Is my newspaper and the graph that I have the same? What do I see in the newspaper? I see the Apple and Microsoft. I don't see them both, all of them. I see each one. I take it and I go and I paste it. And as I have it pasted, I take the Apple and I delete it. I take the Microsoft and I delete it. And the only thing I see is the graph. What did I graph? The same thing that I have in the Wall Street or different? Did I graph the same or different?
The same.
Kind of. Here I have an addition. I graph an average. Is the graph similar? Is the graph similar? What is the difference? The scale. How much time it took me to do it? 10 minutes. Did I go fast or I went with your speed? I went a little fast.
Yes.
Okay, if you ask me, I went with your speed, or with the speed that I expect you to be able to do in the finals. Which means on Friday, during Black Friday, you try to work things out. And I want you to tell me, what do you see here? I want you to tell me what do we see here. Okay, you don't want to tell me what do you see here. I look at the newspaper. As I look at the newspaper, I see out of the 10 top companies, most of them are technology companies. And I want to know why. And then as I was coming up, I was looking at what is happening today and who writes what. And someone from the New York Times writes an article. The guy is Jewish, is David. He says, I take a Sabbath, but he takes a peculiar Sabbath. He says, okay, for one day of the week, I'm not going to use any technology. Nothing at all. And he says, forget about Jewish or not Jewish. Jews, Hindu, Muslims, Christians, non-believers, anything, it's good if you get detoxicated. And you hear that from me, right? And I'm using technology. So can you be one day a week without technology? No. You should. I would suggest be one day of the week without even electricity. So, what do you see here? Can you describe it? If I want to say what I see here, what do I need to use? Can I use a straight line trend or a moving average trend? And if you look at the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, when they use moving average to indicate what's happening in the market, what is the period that they use for the moving average? Or what is a moving average? Moving average is an average. I told you what is an average because I used average data. What kind of data did I use? I use exactly the same data that I saw in today's Wall Street Journal. I use them a little bit different. The Wall Street Journal takes the Apple AAPL and the Microsoft MSFT prices and adds them up together and makes an index. If I do that, and I want to graph them together with the two stocks, I will have completely different scale. If I want to have things on a similar or comparable scale, I would take this together and I will divide it by 2. And I will have the average of these two stocks. If I don't have the average of these stocks, and I go on and I do it as it is in the newspaper actually does something else. I take this out from here and I put it here. And the newspaper adds up the two stocks. As the newspaper adds up the two stocks, this is the average of the two. This is the average of the two. This is the summation. I want you to think. What is one and what is the other? I want you to know what is one and what is the other. I go on for all the years and for all the graphs. And now I make another graph where I actually graph both stocks and their total part. And I want to compare what I will have now. I want to compare what I have now. This is what I have now. This is what I had before. This is what I had before. I want to know the average, the blue line, relative to the two other corporations. What is it doing? I take one and I put it together with the other. I take one, I put it together with the other. And as I have one next to the other, I would like to see what is happening. Like to see what is happening. In both cases, because the graphs are done automatically and because the first part is something that is together, says in both cases I have two things. I have the total, therefore one is on top of the other, or I have the average. I have one plus the other divided by 2. And I ask you a question. Is it the same as in fluctuation? And the only thing that you can be able to do is look at one graph next to the other. So what do you see? You see the two stocks here, and I want you to be efficient doing finance, which means I want to do things fast. How you do things fast? You create a prototype. And after you create a prototype, then you go on and use copy and paste. I want to train you what you need to do. Both graphs, I want them to be in the same way. You format this graph, and you made the axis here to be the same as the axis there. That means that you know how to work things with Excel. I don't have time to do it. I have to talk about finance. I take this graph from here. I copy it. I put here, and I paste it. When I paste it here, I want to keep the two stocks. Then I'll paste it here again. And as I paste it here, I want here to keep the summation. I'll take out of the summation here, and I will look at the two stocks. I'll take one stock out, I'll take the other stock out, and I would look at what is happening with the average. I'm going on to do the same thing here. Here I have the average. I copy it. I paste it. And I paste it again. What do I need to keep here? I need to keep the two stocks. What do I need to keep here? I need to keep the average. Why do I need to look at the two stocks? Do I get the same graphs? Yes, I graph the same thing. What do I see? What do I see? Do I see anything that is important? What is happening from 2007 to 2010? More or less, they have the same stock value. Do they fluctuate the same? No. What is happening after that? After that, Apple starts picking up faster than Microsoft. but Apple's run is more pumpy than Microsoft. What is happening? Apple goes up here a lot. Microsoft goes up here a little. Microsoft drops here a little. Apple drops here much more than Microsoft drops here. It increases a little. Increases here. Increases little. Drops here. We have some fluctuation. After that, we have big increase. So what do we have? 2007, 2010, 2017, 2019. Can you tell me a story of something that you haven't seen before? If I want to see the trend, does it make sense to use a straight line trend or not? I want to see it. If I put a trend line, I have a line, I want to see the equation and I want to see the R square. I want to see the equation and I want to see the R square. The R square is 90%. I like it. The slope is 4% daily. It's not that bad. I want to see the trend line. I want to see what is the trend line here. And as I want to see the trend line, I see the R square. The R square is 70%, which means I prefer more the line of the Microsoft, the line of Apple, than the line of Microsoft. One line explains more, 20% of what the other line explains. And if I know that stuff, I need know something else. If I put that on the side, I can say that Microsoft increases approximately how much? 1 said 2 is better than if he would say 1, because it's 1.9. So I want you to approximate, because this is the fast way to make judgments. This is a 2% daily increase. This is a 4% daily increase, which means that daily one is increasing twice as much as the other. Is it increasing throughout all that period or not? Whenever you have the line, that gives you more or less the average over all the period. But if you see the trend, you see that this is not the case. What is happening? What is happening is things at one point go much faster than the other, which gives you to another case that you don't have in the book. What do you have in the book? In the book you have a linear trend. And you go here, and you want to see what is happening if you use something else. What else do you have in the book? You have a moving average. What is a moving average? A moving average is that instead of taking all of them together, you go and you look at one particular range and you find out what is the average on that particular range. And Now you have very big period, right? You have several years. What is the highest part that you can put here? Or do you read the Wall Street Journal? Whenever you read the Wall Street Journal, what is the highest range that the Wall Street Journal reports as a moving average? And what the computer allows you to do. Can you put 100? Can you put 100? No, you can't. The highest you can go with this software is up to 99 days. But if you have the Wall Street, it gives you an average of 200 days. And if you have other software, you can be able to get a moving average over a year, which means 365 days. If you have a moving average here, it tells you what is happening to the moving average. Let me clear what is a moving average. I mark here moving average of close to 100 days, 99. Which means I take 99 days and I calculate what is the average. And then I drop one day and I add another day. I find out what is the other average. That's the other average. And I drop one day and I add another day and I find out what is the average here. And I have another point as an average. And I keep doing that for all of my data that I have. And that is my moving average. What is the moving average? It tells me in a much more smoother way how things fluctuate. I want to see how it's smoothing my trend. I will go here. And I will play with my trend. I want to see it intensely. Can I change color? Can I make it thicker? Can I make it a line? I'll make it a straight line. That's my moving average of 99 days. What is happening and what do I do with the moving average? It smooths your data. And because of that, you do not have as much variation of the data. What is happening if I increase or decrease my smoothing period? Do you see anything that is different? If I increase or decrease my smoothing period, do I see any different? In order to see it, I need to make my line smaller so I can be able to see what is happening with one line versus the other. And if I increase or decrease the smoothing period, I want to see what is happening. And what I see is the higher the range of the average, the more the deviation of the moving average from the line. And this is not something that you have to read it and memorize it. This is something that you have to put it on your graph on your computer and practice. Is this clear? Is this the only way you can be able to have a moving average or to have a trend? the computer says that if you want to have a trend line, you have more options. You can have an exponential option, or you can have a logarithmic option. And I want you to tell me what the exponential and logarithmic are telling you. It says also you can be able to have a power option, what is happening, or what is happening if you have a polynomial option. I go on and I look at your CUNY first background, and I see all of you took a class in algebra. And that's a requirement. If you don't take algebra 51 or 56, you cannot be here, correct? And in algebra, you learn what is a polynomial. Can you tell me what is a polynomial? And I went and found out what is your grades. And some of you have even A's there. So what is a polynomial? You don't count, you come from Russia or Ukraine or another Soviet republic. From all of that, period doesn't count. So what is a polynomial? Good, I go to another Soviet. You don't remember Soviet Union, your parents did. So what is a polynomial of order 2? And what is the difference between a polynomial of order 3? Can you tell me? Polynomial of order 2 and order 3. Okay, forget about Soviet Union. Let's go to Africa. Polynomial of order 2 is what? Polynomial of order 2 is something that is written. Y is equal ax to the power of 2. B of x to the power of 1, c of x to the power of 0. And you can have plus or minus signs. Now Daisy would tell me something else. She will say, Professor, when I went to my algebra class, did not write it like this. And she's right. Because they wrote it, y equals positive or negative, ax squared, positive or negative, bx, positive or negative, c. Because also in algebra, you know that something to the power of 0 is equal to 1. And something to the power of 1 is equal to itself. So it's as if this is multiplied to 1, and power to 1 is itself. So you don't have to write something that is to itself. And I go on to Bogdan. When I write something like that, what kind of a graph do I expect? If I want to go on and graph, if x changes, how the y is changing. If x changes, how the y is changing. And I want to graph this particular case. What are the possible options? You told me that you passed math, right? And you were good in math. My buddy here says, my math teacher was not telling me that well, and I have exactly the same experience. So if you were in a good class with a good math teacher, what do you expect to have here? Anyone? Yes?
Up and down.
No.
What parameters one?
Good. You're going to get an A. You can have either one of these two cases. Not up and down. You can have up and down. If you say up and down, you have more ups and downs. Which means, and these are review questions for you for the Thanksgiving period. If you have this type of a graph, you have only one turning point. And that turning point may be either a maximum or a minimum. And if you solve the problem, If you solve the problem and you say, I want to solve the problem, what do you really find? The solution of the problem, graphically speaking, is what? Dito. Graphically speaking, is what? The solution of the problem.
Max in the mean.
No.
All the point on the...
The solution of the problem is
X.
where this graph
Yes.
cuts to the x-axis, or in other words, where y is equal to 0. And what you really need to find out, if you know this case, because this is symmetrical, then from these 2 points you find the maximum, and from these 2 points you find the minimum. And then the computer makes your life easy. You say here, polynomial can be a different order, can be of an order of 3, can it be an order of 4, and I want to see it, because I want to capture what all that stuff are telling me, and that's not in the book. This is a moving average, this is a polynomial of order 2. I want to see the polynomial, and I want to see how much faith I'll have in that polynomial. I'll take that case and I put it here. I want large letters. I want large letters. I want to compare. What do I want to compare? Mainly 2 things. I want to compare this curve, which is a 2nd degree polynomial, to this curve, which is a 1st degree polynomial, a straight line. This curve says that I have trust on that 95%. This says that I trust this 70%. What is better to trust, 95% or 70%? 95 is better than 70, which means when there is a curvature, it's closer to your data than when it's a straight line. And why do I want to be bothered with that? Because I want to forecast. How do I forecast? I go here, and I want to see what I want to do. I want to forecast going forward or backwards. And if I want to forecast, I want to go 30 days, or I want to go 99 days ahead. Can I forecast for 365 days? 1 year in advance. And I see that the computer allows me to do it. The computer allows me to do it. If I go on and I forecast with a straight line, I go here with my straight line, I click it, and I want to see what is happening with my straight line. I want to go forward 365 points. What do I see? I see which line or curve tells me what is going to happen in the future. And I would like to say which one do I trust more. I trust that things will change like this, or things will change like this. And then I will go on further. I'll go to Microsoft again. and I will say put a trend line, put a polynomial line. But now put a polynomial of order 3. I want to see what is that polynomial, and I want to see what is the R squared. I take it and I put it here. As I have it and I put it here, I want to see how much faith I will have in a third degree polynomial. And what do I have? I have another line here. This is my third degree polynomial. I want to go on and extend it for another year. But if I extend it for another year, now it gives me a different extrapolation. What is an extrapolation? I take something I know from the past and I extend it for the future. Which one do I expect to happen? The second degree or the third degree? And I will take it and I will go and say, can I make it even different? Can I go to a fourth degree or to a fifth degree or to a sixth degree? And as I change it, here, the graph is different. You see it, how it changes. So what do you expect Microsoft to do? To go that high up or not? And if you want Microsoft to go up and down, what do you expect Apple to do? And you do the same thing for Apple. And if you put them both together, why do you put them both together? Why the Wall Street Journal put them both together? What is the meaning of putting them both together? And if you can put them both together, you can do it in two different ways. One way was done by the Wall Street Journal today. It add one to the other. The other I did it in class. Do I have anything that is different? Do I have anything that is different? What do you see? Anything that is different? Yes or no? Daisy?
I see them saying.
Good. Daisy sees the same thing, so it's the same thing. Is anything different? Yes, something is different. While you look at the same thing, what is different? The vertical axis is different. What is different? The scale is different. How do you know that? Because you go on and you can put whatever you have together with your graphs. If it is the summation, one adds to the other. If it is the average, one adds to the other and divides it by 2. Which means what? Summation and average give you the same graph at a different scale, but it's not anything different. And I saw a lot of professors that thinking that it's completely different, which is not. The summation and the average tells you exactly the same thing, how it moves out. Does it move up and down in a different way? If you look at this, you may say yes, because the drop here is much smaller than the drop here. Is this the reality or is this the fallacy? The only way you can be able to test it is if you go further down and you see the two graphs just alone with an adjustment to the scale in such a way that for the same period you saw proportional information. Is any difference? in the ups and downs? Or it's the same? What do you see, Kelsey? And if you have that, then I want to be able to go on and find something that I would like to summarize. I want to use whatever I have here. I want to say one thing more. This is a second degree polynomial. What is happening if I have a third degree polynomial? Third degree polynomial is y is ax to the third. That may be positive or negative. Plus bx to the second. Plus cx to the first. Plus d to the 0. So what is the difference between a second degree and a third degree? We said something important. The second degree has one turning point. The third degree polynomial has only two turning points. So a third degree polynomial can go up, down, and up, and can have two turning points. But they can be essentially two different types of a third degree polynomial. Can be this type or can be this type. Go exactly the opposite way, two turning points. Which one do we have in that particular case? Depends upon what data we have. But if we have two turning points, what is the important conclusion? Here we have an increase. Here we have a decrease. If we go to a fourth degree polynomial, do we change anything in nature? No, but fourth degree polynomial has three turning points. So a fourth degree polynomial will give me a decline here, while a fourth degree polynomial will give me an increase here. How many degrees of a polynomial I can be able to do it with my Excel automatically without having to be bother anything of whatever they told me in my algebra class? 6, which means I can have up to 5 different turning points. Why do I need it? To see what is happening with all possible analytical ways of how things change. Is this clear? And I go and I want to see what is the topic of this chapter. The topic of this chapter says that things change, that technology changes. And the technology changes differently in different periods. So what do I say? From 2007 to 2016, I have one type of a change. From 2016 to 2019, I have a different type of a change. What can I do? I take different type of data. Is it very difficult to do it? Now you go to Yahoo Finance, and when you specify the period, you specify a different period, and you get another period, and you focus on what is happening from 2016 to 2019. The last 3 years, the technology plays much more important role in how things change in business. Because of that, the two important companies in the technology are changing rapidly of what is happening. Before 2016, you didn't have Apple Watch. Now you have an Apple Watch. In 2025, you may have things that we don't know right now. That means things are going to be different. The company who is going to make all these things will increase its value. Is this going to be Microsoft and Apple? We don't know. And we go to the other companies. I asked my daughter, for Thanksgiving, I don't have time to go to the black market. Go to the computer and find out black market deals. Why needs to find black market deals? When I was your age, I had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go on and wait for the stores to open for these deals. Now I don't have to do it. She already said she got some of the black market deals in the computer right now. What is my question? What is Amazon? Amazon started like Apple. Apple started to be a computer company, made computers. Is it only a computer company today or not? Amazon started selling books. It competed with Borders, moved Borders out of business. Is Amazon a book company? What is Amazon now? And Amazon not only put Borders out of business, put Sears out of business. And Amazon, you may say, it's a retailing company. Is it Amazon a retail company?
No.
What is Amazon? How do they have it there? I go on and see Amazon. What do I see? I see Amazon. What is Amazon? Why Amazon is a technology company? It does not do anything with technology. Apple and Microsoft do things with technology. What Amazon is doing with technology? Amazon changes the way that we sell things using technology. So Amazon is using technology. As a result, things change. And this is what I want to do. I want to find out how I will see how things change. And I have data. And as I have data, one thing that is important is what is the range of my data. The other thing that I want to find out, if I look at that part, is what I already talked. And I talked about what is an average. I talked about what is an average. Or I didn't. And I make a distinction. Average is something that takes into account the sum and takes into the account of the number of informations that are used in order to have that sum. In other words, if I have a class with 15 students, and if I have a class with 30 students, and if I have a class with 5 students, and if I have a class with 1 student, 1-to-1, which class would be able to move faster? Hmm? He said 1-to-1. And if I have a class with 1-to-1 with someone who, according to his record, is an F student, and I want to make that F student after a semester to be better than the A students, can I do it? Only if he wants to do it too. But if I have a class with 30 students, in the class of 30 students, I have 10 students that are A students, and I have 10 students that are F students. Can I do it? Can I do it? Would be harder, and that's management. And during the weekend, I check to see what is happening with 3 of my finance classes. And in one finance class, I have almost a third of the class dropped. Is this good or bad? Depends. Depends of whom. For the guys that they stay in class and they want not only to get an A but excel, it's good because I don't have to waste time with the lower end of the class. For the lower end of the class is bad because they have to do it again. Which means what? Is it better off to have classes and allow you to be in a class with the same quality of students or not? That is called homogeneous class. That's why when I make the milk, I break the cells that they have the fat, to have fat exactly the same portion all over the milk. And you buy milk that is full milk, or 2%, or 1%, or 0. Otherwise, I have to go to Connecticut or upstate New York and get real milk. Real milk is what? The fat is at the top, and the watery white part is at the bottom. What is average is my question. From the average, I want to see how things change. And I want you to tell me what is variance. But in order to find the average, you just add things up and you divide. In order to find the variance, you go on and you put something else. You put things in a power. And from the variance, you get the standard deviation. These two things are the same thing. But the average and the standard deviation are on the same scale, while the variance is not. And I go further. I want to see how two things change. And if I want to see how the two things change, then I don't want to see how only Apple changed. I want to see how Microsoft changed. And I have another particular concept here. I see how both of them co-variate. And I get the concept of covariance. And I see how both of them change at the same time. And if I want to see how both of them change at the same time, I want to see how they are related. But I have a relationship of two. So I have co-relation. And if I want to see how two things are related, X and Y, Apple and Microsoft, what actually I want to see is how the two things change together. What is the covariance of Apple and Microsoft? And I want to compare how the two things change together with how the two things change separately. So I take the standard deviation of one, and I'll take the standard deviation of the other, and I multiply them. And I have what is happening if I have correlation. Excel writes it as this. And these are the important statistical concepts that I want to clarify on Wednesday. And then we go for a break. And when you go for a break, the first day you eat a lot. And the second day you do a lot of shopping. And the third day you stay home and relax. Or you go to work, and after you work you go back to your desk and you find out how things change. And we move on from that point on further to see what is happening. Is this clear? I'll post today's video from you and today's video from the other class that I'll go to details. To them I will not say what I said to you today. I'll give them the video. To them I will go on to the details. I want you to see both. And tomorrow I will repeat everything all together. And I want to see all the videos and